Not my definition of Hapa, but it's not about me. If you want to be part of the project, be part of the project. But check out what he writes. I just say I'm from the Bronx, ancestral tribe that triangles were extinguished by Columbus and company. If we'd have seen it coming, we'd have eaten them. Then we got the kids, and the kids got the great statements. So my niece Kaya, and we look at kids, we're like, wow, what's that about? It doesn't look mad, But it's when you ask them what it's about, and it's just, my name's Madeline. I'm like, oh. And then this little boy who had such courage to write down the statement, a very little boy in 5th grade that has no friends, which just killed me. And I was actually broke my prime directive and tried to get him to change it. I was like, you got to write something different. You got to write. I don't have any friends. Just write. You have one. Just write. I don't have any friends. And I'm so thankful he didn't listen to me, because this kid nailed this human condition. I mean, maybe you weren't the multiracial kid at your school, but at some point in your life, you've been that blank in the blank. You've been the one whose father is in prison, or the one who got braces, or the one who speaks with a lisp, or the one who's overweight, or whatever it is. We've all been there, and I think that kid really nailed it. So I was so glad he didn't listen to me. Eric Tate here writes down, what am I? 100% black, 100% Japanese, very easy. And the woman I finished this with, who came up with like 5 statements, they were all brilliant. One of hers was like, my dad's male, my mom's female, so I'm half male, half female then, right? But the one I used of her was, I'm a person of color, not half white, not half Asian, a whole other, and checks the box. And I want to show you what happened when I had a show of this at the Japanese American National Museum, which is really interesting. I've been making art professionally for over 20 years now. And I know we like to think of ourselves in California as so progressive, especially with terms of like API stuff, and we're so advanced. MoCA was the first Chinese American organization that ever asked me to show my work. It was 3 years ago or 2 years ago when they did the What It Means to Be Chinese in America. All the organizations in California, never have asked. JA community loves my stuff, but it's never happened. So I've always been very grateful. My first art show was right down Bowery, Asian American Art Center. First show in 1990. Bob Lee put me in that. This is what happened. They said, we want you to do a show for 5 months. I said, hell yes. And then I said, what have I done? Because here's my fear. People will come into the show for the first month, and then 4 months it's going to be empty. It's going to be crickets. I have to find a way to get people to come back to the show. They have to want to see it more than one time. How do I get them to come back? So I put this table in the second gallery, and I built a series of shelves. So you've got like 5 rows, 1 row, 2, 3. I built 8 rows of 5 shelves based on the I Ching, or the Book of Changes. And I thought, how cool would it be if any of you guys that came to the show could get your Polaroid taken, stick in a card, write your statement, and put it up. And I made room for 500 people to do this thing, and that'll get people to come back to the show, right? Well, let's go back and see it. Let's see if there's any more pictures there. Let's see if my picture's still up. And I had hoped that in 5 months that these 500 spots would fill. That was my goal. They filled in 45 minutes. We had 1,000 people come to the opening, and they filled up. The museum staff came to me and said, what now, Dr. Frankenstein? Because I didn't take these photographs. I don't know what this means, okay? It was people of all ages. It was from all around the world. What we eventually did is just let it take over the museum. Like, this isn't even one of my galleries. It was creeping out like this identity virus, okay? And what's neat was that it became an actual social space. I realized that you can poke someone on Facebook, and I realized you can wink at someone on Match, but this was a real space where you could actually touch these things. I don't know what this was. It wasn't Halloween, okay? Some princess of something came in. And people, because I wasn't taking them, they'd start doing their own things, like taking group pictures, and then this weird social thing happened. It was a real social space. It says, konnichiwa, I like girl, and I love you. People started writing to each other on them. And just like, they point at each other and say things like, Sarah, marry me. But the cool thing was that wasn't there originally. I remember that picture, and I remember it wasn't there. He must have come back and written that, and then she wrote like the hot with 2 T's, which is extra, extra hot. What happened was eventually people started coming to the museum and going right past my photographs and going to these. Because they were much more interesting, which was like the simultaneous compliment insults. And that became this book, which is not a book about race. It's a book about identity. Its follow-up is not a book about tattoos. It's a book about identity. And its follow-up is not about, about race again. It's about identity. When I photographed the kids, I just wanted to photograph, I figured the same thing, like, Hapa Project, I just made a call. Let's go do it, see who shows up. This one, first call. I didn't realize there's no shortage of parents who want their kids in books. The first day, it was like, in an hour and a half, I shot 60 kids. plus mom, dad, auntie sitting there crying, baseball bats. It's just insane. But I wanted to do is capture the kids as they are, not as they are supposed to be for their, Hanukkah photo or their Christmas card. I just wanted to capture them, if they're like, being a parent, it's like, the kids have different faces and what they're into. I told them, bring whatever you want to bring. She was taking a retainer around. I'm like, wait. What? She says, I just got this out. And that was my picture. Now, the parents don't like that because the parents want, but I wanted to capture the kids as they are. If you're a spaz, I want the spaz. Hey, look at this guy. 3, talk about old soul. And just try to capture the kids are just so amazing to photograph. I shot her, and it's just like, I showed the dad, is he cool? He's like, yeah. Every night when I say bedtime, that's the look she gives me. I'm like, okay. Just letting them pose themselves, letting them play around, do their thing. Fantastic outfits. You can't make this stuff up. They're making accessories. This is right here in Brooklyn. Shot her. You get some siblings that really, really like each other. You get some other siblings that, and once I get a kid that's just not afraid to cut loose, which is so fun. And then I had the parents write a little bit. This is from the mother. I constantly write Emilio. He was a beautiful, bright, and talented boy. I was so happy when Emilio decided to grow out his hair and embrace it because for a long time he wanted it to be yellow and straight. I tell Emilio that he is Blaxican and comes from a beautiful heritage of oppressed people that have struggled in the U.S. For that, he should be proud and find the strength that is within him. I love you, son, which is great. But what's even better is when you let the kids talk about it. Because, again, kids don't default to race with the what are you. Just like, what do you do? They don't default to jobs like we do. I work for the Bank of America. I shall work there until I die. That's like, we don't do that. Kids like, what are you? I am Ninja Jake. I am Zombie Milo. We are brothers who battle monsters of all kinds. Or this girl here, and who are you? 9-year-old girl. I am half Japanese, 3/4 Mexican, and 1/4 Filipino. It's like extra girl, right? And again, when I started this talk, I said, like, when I was a kid looking up, when you look at role models out there, can you imagine if this kid would ever say this without the current presidency? I am key and I am brown like Barack Obama. One day I'll be a pro football player and the president. And I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but this is my favorite shot down here in the Bowery, actually. Julia. I shot about 500 kids, and Julia was just, usually these photo shoots come in, and you've got strobes and soft boxes and tripods and backgrounds and assistants. It's a big, the kids come in a little nervous, and this girl walks in, she's like, you want to see my rock collection? I said, yes. And she just sat down. This is jade agate. This is rose quartz. And that's how she said everyone is like just... And then you get this fantastic statement, I love papal animals and minerals. I love minerals and plants. And then you get the wonderful evolution of the chicken, carrot, rabbit thing. It's just so great. I mean, I try to get my grad students to draw like that. It's just fantastic. Or this kid here, who are you? My name is Micah. I like to go to my friend's house. My friend's name is Eli. I sleep in my friend's house. Now he spells it correctly for some reason, a lot. And sometimes we roll down the stairs, period, for fun. Which is so great. So that's how this book came up. And then I did a show of this at the Janum as well. That was last summer. And when you walk in, there's this 80-foot wall that has these dates from 1916 to 2010 of all the different milestones in terms of interracial marriage and interracial identities. And when you walk in, there's this map of the world on the floor and this kiosk, and you get to the kiosk, and there's the kiosk of Japan, there's the kiosk of North America, and Ireland, etc. And basically, you press these buttons. It says which kids identify as part Irish. And when you do that, then these lights would light up in the ceiling, go to each kid that identifies that way, except for the one that says which kids' ancestors came from what is now Africa, and you press that and everything lights up. And so that's how the outside was, but I also want to see people to participate. So I said, how about if you put your handprint on the year you were born and just take it and put it on there, and you could say you were there, you could pick whatever color you want. I thought that'd be a nice way for me to sort of take track and sort of watch visually what happened. So this is opening day. This is after 3 hours, which is really cool, and this is after 4 months, which was really neat, and they lost track. They said it was over 5,000. But what's really nice is as you zoom in, it just all blends together. It's really kind of nice metaphorically. And a lot of people have asked, what are you doing and why do you do this work? And the reason I do this work is this is my philosophy, and you're totally cool to disagree. A lot of my students do. I don't do National Geographic. I don't shoot other. That's my deal. I think it would be weird if I did a Hapa book and I wasn't Hapa. I think it'd be weird if I did a tattoo book and I wasn't inked. It's just, I do work based on my life. And I feel like a lot of people come to me after gigs and I talk all over the country and they're like,